And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. Now, I'm a little late because I was when I came into the studio, I noticed that the Charlie Hunter's Reasonably Fine Art Talk little squib is there. And this is not a Reasonably Fine Art Talk. And I was trying to remember how to shut that off, but I didn't survive. I didn't manage to do that. As you can see, I'm wearing my Donald Trump commemorative t-shirt. Will you shut up, man? And welcome to the first week of dystopia. But we're not here to talk about dystopia. We're here to celebrate great American humor because goodness knows we can use it. This reading tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is a Robert Benchley that I've read a couple of times before since the pandemic. But the thing that's great about it is I didn't know it as a child. It was not one of the ones was in any of the Benchley books that we had at the house at home. So my dad never read it. It also does deal with intoxication. So perhaps he thought, no, because Edith's Christmas Burglar has jokes about intoxication. That's not why Dad didn't read it. Edith's Christmas Burglar, you'll remember that it says that Daddy was often up late working on a case of scotch. But I think this just must not have been in any of the books that we had. I have been so blessed, ladies and gentlemen, that various people who have gone to my workshops have sent me old Robert Benchley books. I right at the moment, I can't remember the name of the woman who gave me this one, but it is very much appreciated. And my Benchley repertoire has expanded thanks to so many of you. I am happy to say tonight's Liberal Snowplowing Do-Gooder beneficiary is the Community Asylum Seekers Project, which is a Brattleboro, Vermont charity that helps get legal refugees settled in America. And of course, their constituents are terrified right now. And I think this is an appropriate time to do our little blows back against the umpire, against the wanton cruelty and churlishness that seems so dominant in America right now. As I guess almost all of you know, I have transferred my mailing list over to Substack, which is basically a newsletter writing program that a lot of ex-Washington Post people are starting their own Substacks. But I became aware of Substack because of Heather Cox Richardson, the great historian who does Letters from an American. And as it turns out, Heather and I lived in the same dorm room at Exeter Academy. She was about 15 years after me. But representing Soul 11. Soul 11 is a good room, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, I have transferred my newsletter over to Substack, and you can subscribe for free. Just go to hunter-studio.com or charliehunter.art, and there is the sign-up form. But you can also become a paid subscriber, and 100% of the funds raised through that means get distributed to charities. Community Asylum Seekers Project there's a family from Central America attempting to get resettled in my town. They are doing hard manual labor. They are good people. They don't speak much English. They're not living lives of glamour. And it seemed to me that I have a bunch of paintings that are just sitting in my inventory. So today, for my paid subscribers, I offered a painting for $450, which is that's a couple $1,000s less than you'd pay for it at the gallery. And that painting has been snapped up, and I am thrilled that we have donated the $450 $400 to community asylum seekers projects. I kept $50 for the shipping, for my time wrapping the damn thing. That's the thing I dislike most, is packaging up paintings to send, especially being gimpy on this side. It's a pain in the neck to do. And the credit card fees, and then hopefully enough money for a cheeseburger. Anyway, thank you so much, Helen. We really appreciate your support. Together, I think by showing mercy, we will get through this traumatic period that America is about to go through. All right, without further alienating a portion of my base, or thrilling a different portion of it, let us get on with tonight's reading. Let us get on with Carnival Week in sunny Las Los by Robert Benchley. You have all doubtless wanted to know at one time or another a few of the quaint customs which residents of the continent in Europe seem to feel called upon to perpetuate from one century to another. You may know about a few of them already, such as childbearing, which has been taken up on this continent to such an alarming extent, and others of the more common variety of folk mannerisms. But I am very proud and happy to be able to tell you today of some of the less generally known customs of the inhabitants of that medieval Spanish province of Las Los, or Los Las, as it was formerly called, either way meaning the, plural. Where I have had the extremely unfortunate fortune to be spending the summer. Las Los, nestling as it does in the intercostal nooks of the Pyrenees, makes up into one of the nicest little plague spots on the continent of Europe. Europe has often claimed that Las Los was not part of it, and in 1356, Spain began a long and costly war with France, the loser to take Las Los and 2 outfielders. France won, and Spain built an extension onto the Pyrenees in which to hide Las Las. They succeeded in hiding it from view, but there was one thing about Las Las that they forgot, and you always know that it is there. It was in this little out-of-the-way corner of the world, then, that I set up my easel and began painting my fingers and wrists. I soon made friends with the natives, all of whom were named Pedro, and it was not long before they were bringing me their best Sunday knives and sticking them in my back for me to try to tell which was which. Oh, and such laughter would go up when I guessed the wrong one. All Latins, after all, are just children at heart. But I am not here to tell you of the many merry days I myself spent in Las Los, but of some of the native customs which I was privileged to see and once in a while participate in. They rather resent an outsider taking part in most of them, however, for there is an old saying in Las Los that when an outsider takes part, rain will surely dart, meaning dart from the clouds, you see. And above all things, rain is abhorred in this section of the country, as rain has a tendency to cleanse whatever it touches, and as another old proverb has it, clean things, dead things, which is not exactly accurate, but appeals to these simple, childish people to whom cleanliness is next to a broken hip. First of all, then, let us tiptoe up to the natives of Las Los during their carnival time. The carnival week comes during the last week in July, just when it is hottest. This makes it really ideal for the Las Losians, for extreme heat, added to everything else, renders their charming little town practically unbearable. This week was chosen many hundreds of years ago and is supposed to mark the anniversary of the marriage of old Don Pedro's daughter to a thunderbolt, a union which was so unsatisfactory to the young lady that she left her husband 2 days later and married a boy named Carlos, who sold tortillas. This so enraged the thunderbolt that he swore never to come to Las Los again. And from that day to this, so the saying goes, I know not whether it be true or not, that region has never had any locusts. This would almost make it seem that the repulsed bridegroom had been a locust, but the natives, on being questioned, explained that the patois for thunderbolt, enhuedos, is very much like the patois for locust, enhuedos, and that the thunder god, in giving his order for the future of Los Las, put the accent on the wrong syllable and cut them off from locusts instead of thunderstorms. This may or may not be true, but as I said to the old man who told me, who the hell cares? The first day of the Carnival of the absence of locusts, just why they should be so cocky about having no locusts is not clear. Locusts would be a godsend compared to some of the things they have got, is spent in bed, storing up strength for the festival. On this day, all the shops except those selling wine are closed. This means the little shop down by the river, which sells sieves, is closed. People lie in bed and send out to the wine shops for the native drink, which is known as wheero. All that is necessary to do with this drink is to place it in an open saucer on the windowsill and inhale deeply from across the room. In about 8 seconds, the top of the inhaler's head rises slowly and in a dignified manner until it reaches the ceiling, where it floats, bumping gently up and down. The teeth then drop out and arrange themselves on the floor to spell Portage High School 1930. The eyes roll upward and backwards, and a strange odor of burning rubber fills the room. This is followed by an unaccountable feeling of intense lassitude. Thus, we may expect nothing from the natives for the first 2 days of the carnival. For the second day is spent in looking for bits of head and teeth, and in general, moaning. A sorry carnival, you will say, and I will say too. But later on, things will brighten up. On the third day, the inhabitants emerge, walking very carefully in order not to jar off their ears, and get into a lot of decorated ox carts. Oh, good. Charbonneau has now arrived, and so you'll probably be seeing a cat who is, yes, going to get in the way of me seeing the book. Okay. On the Charbonneau. On the third day, the inhabitants emerge, walking very carefully in order not to jar off their ears, and they get into a lot of decorated ox carts. You're not really crazy about getting into these ox carts, but it is more or less expected of them at carnival time. Pictures are taken of them riding about and are sent to the London illustrated papers. And if they were to pass up 1 year without riding in decorated ox carts, it would not seem like Carnival Week to the readers of the London illustrated papers. You can hardly blame a man with a wheero hangover, however, for not wanting to bump around over cobblestones in an old two-wheeled cart, even if it has got paper flowers strung all over it. One of the saddest sights in the world is to see a native, all dressed up in red and yellow, with a garland of orange roses around his neck, jolting and jouncing along over hard stone bumps, with a girl on his knee. Did you just knock? Oh, just knocked over the beer on the. Yeah, good job, Sharps. If I disappear, ladies and gentlemen, our little friend has just knocked a beer onto the keyboard. Thank you. Now he has jumped down. His work is done. Oh, Charbonneau. Oh, great. Hang on just a second, ladies and gentlemen. I guess I'll set that up to drain. And fortunately, have a few pieces of mulch. Oh, Charbonneau. Personal best for Charbonneau. Thank you. All right. Still there, ladies and gentlemen? Still there? Okay. Oh, just now smells like a bar in here. You know, that kind of the smell of beer, and the table's going to be sticky. Oh, good job, Sharps. Good job. He's curled up over by the wood stove now. All right. Where were we? One of the saddest sights in the world is to see a native all dressed up in red and yellow with a garland of orange roses around his neck, jolting and jouncing along over hard stone bumps with a girl on his knee, and trying to simulate that famous Spanish smile and gay abandon, all the time feeling that one more bump and away goes that meal he ate several days ago, along with his legs and arms and portions of his lower jaw. No wonder those Spaniards look worried. However, there's a great deal of shouting and cawing amongst those who can open their mouths, and occasionally someone hits a tambourine. This is usually frowned upon by the person standing next to the tambourine hitter, and a remark in Spanish is made which could roughly be translated as, "For the love of God, shut up with that incessant banging." The Carnival, which is known as Romeria, is supposed to be a festival of the picnic type, combined with a religious pilgrimage to some sort of shrine. This shrine, however, is never reached, as along about noon of the third day, some desperate guy with a hangover no longer to be borne evolves a cure on the hair of the dog that bit you theory, and the wheero is brought out once again. Oh, the village watering trough is filled with it, and a sort of native dance is held around the trough, everyone inhaling deeply. Those who are still unable to inhale are carried to the edge of the trough, and a little wheero is rubbed on their upper lips just under the nose. Then it is good night all and a merry, merry trip to Blanket Bay for the festive villagers, and the carnival is shot to hell. A week later, business is quietly resumed. On the fifth day of the carnival, there is supposed to be a bull chase through the streets. The principle of the thing is that a bull is let loose, and everyone chases it, or vice versa. As, however, there was nobody fit to chase a butterfly, much less a bull, on the fifth day of this carnival, I had to take care of the bull myself. The two of us sat all alone in the public square amongst the cadavers, drinking a sort of lemon ricky together. "A dash of wheero?" I asked the bull. Well, you should have heard him laugh. After that, I got up on his back, and I rode all around the town, visiting the points of interest and climbing several of the better-looking mountains. Pretty soon we were in Turkey, where we saw many interesting sights, and then swinging around through the Balkans, I got back just in time to scramble into bed. I must have hit my head on the footboard while pulling up the sheets, for the next morning, or whenever it was, when I awoke, I had quite a bad headache. Thank heaven, that I knew enough to lay off that wheero. However, I am no fool. And that is tonight's reading, ladies and gentlemen, from the Treasurer's Report by Robert Benchley. A wonderful reading it is. Charbonneau has distinguished himself. And now it is time to read the names of the liberal snowplowing do-gooders, and quite a few names we have now too. If you would like to join the elect, become a paid subscriber to the Reasonably Fine Art Substack. And get ready, ladies and gentlemen. As I say, it is a list. Thank you to the unidentified unglet in the can is ready, and his backup is here. Their backup is here in case it does not want to work well. Thanks to Catherine Fisher, Susan McNeil, Sonia Jackson, Christina Stockman, Terry Widener, Bree Dodson, excuse me, Elizabeth Schwartz, Lizzie Grosso, Adele Reichert, Christy Marks, Kate Fry, John T. Wilhelm, Deborah Lovett, Jean Fry, James Gilbraith, Marlon Gibson, Ann Cousins, Carol Burning, the great Helen Siksek, Nancy Radzik, MJ Brush, Cindy Baker, Nancy Bass, Rhea Bruns, Jeb Hart, Busy Graham, Nancy Flanagan, Susan McCullough, Kathleen Bartlett, Sharon Allen, Sandy Like the Beach Daniel, Scott Jones, Susan Dalton, Jimmy Malley, Nancy Tiergarden, Wyganek? Let me know, Nancy, how to pronounce your name. David Erlanger, Mike Steele, Bob Manning, Don Anderson, Lincoln Payne, Sue Kibbe, the great Martha Rowley in Saxons River, Vermont, and out there in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, out there where John Fetterman votes for Kristi Noem to be whatever the hell Kristi Noem is secretary of. Out there in Pittsburgh, my very, 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 very tall cousin, Mr. Nat Hunter, his wonderful wife, Elise, and their wee little tiny dog, Ginger. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. You take good care. We'll be back next Sunday. We'll be back next Sunday with another Benchley night. See you then. Hang in there, everybody. Bye-bye.